Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to go over a news story that actually broke out yesterday, and that is that The Mandalorian Season 2 has cast its Boba Fett. Now, I'm going to go into my concerns for this after kind of the general information of the announcement. We're going to kind of go over kind of what this means for the series, including this character. But basically, the man who's been cast as Boba Fett is, and I hope I pronounced his first name right, Tamura Morrison. And he actually played Jango Fett in Episode 2, which makes sense because Boba is supposed to be a direct clone of him in the canon. So it makes sense to have him come back, and he's kind of the right age for now aged Boba Fett. Boba Fett, like 50s, something like that. So, or maybe not 50s, but definitely a little bit older. But this also confirms that they've added a part of the EU back into Star Wars, assuming that it isn't a flashback, because in the so basically this is how it goes. When Disney bought Star Wars, they got rid of the expanded universe, which is all the comic books and all the extenuous books that took place, in between the films and after Episode 6, and some of the stuff before Episode 1. The only stuff they really adopted in was Episodes 1 through 6 and the Clone Wars television show, which was going on at the time. So now you have, in that original universe, in the original expanded universe, Boba Fett escaped from the Sarlacc pit. But again, that was erased until now because obviously he has to escape if he's going to be involved in the show, and somehow again, if it's not a flashback sequence. And since they got the actor back who played Jango Fett in the prequels, I would assume that he has a bit more to do than just spout a couple of lines. So that would be kind of interesting. But the bigger problem, I think, here is that this is too much. This is too much for this season of this show. Unless the episodes in this season are doubled from last season. Because the first season was only 8 episodes. It was a fun little story. It had episodes that a lot of them were very self-contained. And now you're getting into the point where you've already added Ahsoka Tano, who's going to be played by Rosario Dawson. So you have that whole plot line being pushed in there. Then you have this with Boba Fett being in there as well. You still have Gina Carano and Carl Weathers coming back, and you still have the story of the Mando and Baby Yoda. So there's a lot going on there already. So I think that's even more than maybe what you can fit into 8 episodes. I think maybe you should expand it out into 10 or 12. And I'm not sure what the episode count on this upcoming season is going to be. But if it is another 8 episodes, I would say that it is very much compact. It too compact. And on top of that, we also have, this feels like it's being rushed a little bit. This feels like it was put on the fast track because of the success of the first series. So that's concerning, and then it's also concerning that they're lumping all these elements in. Now, if you had one or the other, if you'd said, okay, we're going to do Ahsoka and we're not going to do Boba Fett, or we're going to do Boba Fett and we're not going to do Ahsoka, then maybe I'd say, okay, that kind of makes sense. Maybe you save that for the next season, or maybe they tease that or something along those lines. But I feel like those are two characters that if they're going to be involved in the show, they have to take some kind of spotlight. They're not like in the first season when you had a lot of kind of, interesting characters, but a lot of them were characters that were only around for like an episode. With these are legacy characters. These are characters that have long backstories that the fans know. Like I said, Boba Fett has his. It goes all the way back to, actually Ahsoka too. It goes all the way back to the Clone Wars and, the early episodes of the series. So you have a lot to kind of live up to and stay honest to, and that's a problem that Disney has been having. The Mandalorian was something completely new in a sense that these were characters we hadn't met before in a part of the universe we hadn't seen before, or a part of the Star Wars galaxy that we hadn't seen before, and it was a story that really didn't involve a whole lot of bigger things. You had a few little nods here and there to certain things. You had some nods to the Jedi, you had some nods to the old Empire with the Grand Moffs and stuff. You had a few little references there, like the AT-AT or the ATST in the forest in the fourth episode, and some stuff like that. So there were references, but it wasn't necessarily a full-on endorsement and sticking these actual characters into the story. Now you're doing that. So I feel like that's a problem instead of kind of going with an original route and maybe introducing other Mandalorians that are original to the series instead of drudging up Boba Fett. Now, it would have been interesting if maybe this is kind of a precursor. Maybe this is something where. Because I think dragging in the legacy characters at this point is a mistake because you have a very good chance of ruining those characters. And again, Jon Favreau is still a very big part of the series, as is Dave Filoni, I would imagine. And they got a lot of good people to come and work on the first season. The issue that I'm having is that it feels like there is a lot, now that this is a success, it feels like there's a lot of attention coming from the higher ups at Lucasfilm. Because really everything else they've put out has been a colossal failure for the most part. There have been the Star Wars movies. Some of them have still been making money, but the problem is the main movies in the sequel trilogy were losing money at an alarming rate with each entry. And then you also had Solo, which lost money, which was the spin-off film, and now you have also some negative reactions to some other things that they've done over the years. Basically, there's very little goodwill from the fans at this point. The only goodwill that they're really getting is from the Mandalorian and from, they were going to do the Kenobi project, which is supposedly still on the table, but that could be a whole other can of worms on its own. But this whole project with the way that they're going about it now, I feel like they're trying to entwine it too much in the universe, and it doesn't work. And I have a funny feeling that the inclusion of at least Ahsoka, maybe not Boba Fett, but at least Ahsoka, came from somebody else. That was somebody that told that was somebody from the upper end that said that, oh, this character has to be in it now to kind of add to the series. That's kind of what it feels like. It doesn't feel like Ahsoka should be in this series. It doesn't feel like Boba Fett I could see being in the series at some point. And that was something that actually fans were kind of excited about maybe having happen. So this is just kind of an interesting little piece of news. I want to know what you think, though. Are you excited about the casting of Boba Fett in Mandalorian Season 2? Do you think he's a good addition to the season? Are you concerned that maybe the season production is going a little too fast, or maybe there's too much in this season? Again, that's very dependent on the episode count. But like I said, I want to know what you think, so put your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?